Hi guys! It is the end of August as I am filming this, which means it is back to school season. I am no longer in school, but I love a good book about a school setting. I don't read a lot of contemporary YA these days, so some of these are a little bit of a stretch, perhaps, but all of these books that I'm going to be recommending to you today have to do with a school setting in some capacity. So let's dive right in. I'm going to start with a graphic novel and a manga series first. So the manga series is Spy Family, which is very popular right now, and I've talked about it a lot lately, so much so that my boyfriend has started making fun of me a little bit for it, but it's just so good. The main character is technically Twilight, who is an adult spy, but he ends up adopting a daughter named Anya, who is a telepath. She has to get into this very elite, prestigious academy so that Twilight can make moves in his mission and get close to certain diplomats and such. So there's a lot of pressure on her to do well in school and make friends with certain people. Some of these people want nothing to do with her and hijinks ensue, but it is very funny and I love just all of her storyline involving the school is usually very fun. We follow her in like dodgeball matches. There's like arts and crafts challenges. She's trying to get these little badges. I think they're stars. It's a really fun time. I love the part of the plot that follows Anya at school, and I just think it's really fun. And I never went to an academy or anything, but like some of the dynamics between her and her friends are just like very nostalgic and cute, and I love that part of the plot, and I think that's so fun. And so if you're itching for a fun school setting, Anya's story in Spy Family really hits that mark. And the graphic novel series I'm going to recommend is Strange Academy. This first volume is called First Class, and I believe there's 2 volumes out now, and the third one is coming out soon. I have to catch up still, but this is a really fun graphic novel series. As the title suggests, Doctor Strange establishes this academy for young magicians in the Marvel Universe. We follow the son of Dormammu, we follow a frost giant, we follow a couple Asgardian kids, there's a zombie girl. It's a lot of fun, and it takes place in New Orleans, so if that's a setting that appeals to you, I strongly recommend this book. These kids go to classes taught by like Scarlet Witch and other really well-known like magic users in the Marvel Universe. Loki makes us a little like 2-page appearance, and it's really fun, and I love following these kids as they get into trouble, really. You put all these kids with incredible power in one room and things are bound to happen. So this first volume, they go on a little bit of an adventure. I just thought it was so charming and fun. The main character is kind of like on the outside appears to be the most normal, but she might have the most incredible power of all of them. So that's fun as well. Doctor Strange doesn't take like a huge amount of page time in this book. Like he's kind of just there in the background because it really is about the kids. So yeah, this is like a magical boarding school for them and a place for them to explore the limits of their power, and it's a lot of fun. Now we're going to delve into the more traditional novels. First up, I have The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. The little blurb on the front says these sorority girls are real witches. And that's it. That's the book. It's about a sorority full of witches. I love that. If you liked the witch season of American Horror Story, you'll probably really enjoy this. There's 2 main characters in this book. One of them is like a legacy sorority girl. Her family has been part of this sorority for generations. And the other main character is kind of an outsider. She didn't know that she was a witch until she came to this school, and they kind of navigate their differences, and there's a lot that they're jealous of the other about because of their like very vastly different backgrounds. It was a lot of fun. I think this is a perfect fall read. We're on a college campus. There's spooky, witchy things happening. It's literally the perfect like September, October read. It's a lot of fun. And there's a fun mystery at the center of this as well, and strange things kind of start happening to both the sorority house and some of the members. There's also a sequel. I believe this is part 1 of a duology. I haven't picked up the sequel yet. It's called The Monarchs, but I gotta do that soon because I remember having a lot of fun with this book, and I loved the college campus setting. It brought me back. I was never in a sorority, but like, if they had been like this, I may have been more interested in doing so. But yeah, if you like books about colleges and witches and sisterhood, this is a great pick. Next up, I have a supernatural mystery thriller, and that is The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. This is a really popular book. This was a Book of the Month pick a couple of years ago. Simone St. James is really well known for her paranormal thrillers, and this one was a great one. So this is a dual timeline story, and one of the timelines is kind of the more modern day one. We follow a woman whose sister, when she was a teenager, was murdered and whose body was left on the grounds of this abandoned school. We also have a storyline, I believe, in the 50s while the school was still open. It was kind of a boarding school for unwanted girls. Some of them were like bastard daughters of really wealthy businessmen. Some of them just kind of were shoved in there because their relations wanted nothing to do with them. And one of these girls goes missing in the 1950s, and it is not until the more recent storyline that we find out what happened to that girl. And there's also possibly a ghost haunting the halls of this boarding school. This one's definitely a little bit more depressing, especially where a large part of the story in the 1950s has to do with girls who feel like they're unwanted. That's a little depressing. There is spooky shenanigans going on, though, which is always fun in a school setting. And I don't know, I like the way that Simone St. James handles the paranormal elements of her books. I think they're really well done. This was a really engaging mystery, and the fact that, like, in the present day timeline, the school is shut down. You're like, what happened? Why did the school get shut down? So that was a really interesting mystery as well. And I like this one a lot. This next book is a YA mystery thriller, but I do not recommend it lightly. It is a lot about Black trauma, and it is heavily likened to like Gossip Girl meets Get Out, which I think is an accurate description. But I think the Gossip Girl comparison makes people think this is going to be a little bit lighter than it is. And I just want to kind of get that out of the way. This is not a light read by any means, but it is an incredible read. And that is Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Yemedi. Again, Gossip Girl meets Get Out. We follow these 2 students who have secrets that are starting to be exposed anonymously to their student body. One of them, the girl, is like a very popular girl. And the boy is not quite so popular, but both of them, you know, there's a lot on the line for them with some of these secrets that are being exposed. They want to know who the heck is doing this and why they're targeting like the only 2 Black kids at school. It's truly horrifying, honestly, like reading the stuff that they go through, but it is very twisty and turny, and the 2 main characters are really engaging, and it's I can't say too much about this book without spoiling it, but they do attend a rather elite, I don't think it's a boarding school, but it's like a private school. Yeah, it's a private academy. And there's evidence of really bad stuff happening to the Black students at this school for like generations. So we're trying to learn about that as we follow these 2 characters. If you like Gossip Girl as sort of like the anonymous secret thing being exposed, there's definitely a lot of that. It's pretty juicy in that regard, but again, the heart of this novel is quite horrifying. So it takes place at a school, but it's like the worst side of academia that there possibly could be. This next book is a bit of a stretch, but it is excellent, so I will take any excuse to talk about it, and that is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Her newest book, Babel, has a lot more to do with traditional academia. I have not read Babel yet because it is not out. If I were filming this book or this video a year from now, I'm sure that would be on this list. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about The Poppy War. Our main character, Rin, goes to a elite military academy at the beginning of this book. She gets in basically on merit alone. She's from a very poor province, and this military school is located in a much richer area of her country. It's sort of a retelling of the Sino-Japanese War, but it's much more fantastical. Rin becomes a shaman and learns how to channel a phoenix god, and war inevitably, as the title suggests, does break out. So the actual school part of this book does not last, but it starts off that way, and it feels familiar in that regard, you know, like it kind of has like a formula that it eventually breaks. But I did really enjoy the time that this book spent at that boarding school and the dynamics that she had with her fellow students and instructors even, and I just thought it was really well done. It doesn't skim over the fact or the parts of her schooling. Those all inevitably are really important parts and really shape her, and I think it's an important place to start on her journey because it helps us learn how she gets to where she ends up going. So this is more kind of like an ancient setting than I think any of these other books are, but it was fun regardless. The rest of the book is not very fun. Heavy trigger warnings for very graphic violence, will say that, but this is a really good book and does technically have a school setting. It does. It's a stretch, but it does. And then lastly, we have a YA fantasy that I deeply love, and that is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. A large chunk of this book takes place at UNC Chapel Hill. Our main character, Bree, is 16 years old, but she gets into this early college program that allows her to start attending pretty early. At the beginning of this book, her mother unfortunately passes away quite suddenly, so she really takes this opportunity to go to college early in order to kind of get away from the scene in which that happened and all the little things that every day remind her of her mom. But while she's at campus, she kind of stumbles into a secret Arthurian society that have special powers and vanquish demons. If you're at all interested in Arthurian legend, this is so fun. It does get a little heavy as far as the magic system goes, like trying to keep track of how everything works. There's a lot of bloodline magic happening in which several of these students are scions or descendants of these knights and King Arthur himself. Bree is trying to get her foot in the door because she thinks this secret society has something to do with her mom's death, and she's trying to figure out what the heck happened, and she immediately kind of falls in to becoming friends with the scion of King Arthur, Nick, and they start a friendship and later a little something more. There's also a Merlin character, and his name is Sel, and he is very suspicious of Bree. And Bree, kind of like Ace of Spades, Bree faces a lot of institutional racism in this very old secret society that she's trying to be a part of. She's literally the only black girl there, and I'm pretty sure one of two POCs in the group at all, and it's a lot for her to deal with. So if you're at all sensitive to that, just keep that in mind going into this book. But we don't necessarily follow Bree in class quite as much, but if you're at all interested in the secret society or just societies in general in college settings, this is a great book to pick up, and it is so fun. The sequel, Bloodmarked, comes out I think in November, and it is one of my most anticipated books of the year. If I have time, I'm going to squeeze in a reread of this because it is so good. I love it so much. So yeah, those are some of my recommendations for books with school settings in honor of the back to school season. There's so many that I haven't read yet that I really want to get to. I know Plain Bad Heroines is really popular. I think the Atlas 6 and Ninth House are kind of dark academia settings. There's a lot out there for people who like books that have to do with campus settings. Even if you're not in the YA contemporary mood genre anymore, I think there's a lot out there to explore, and I for one am very excited to get into some more of these because I think it's just a fun setting for a book. There's a lot that's familiar and relatable because pretty much everyone has been a student at some point or another, but yeah, it's just one of my favorite things to read about. It's so fun. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for me today. Please, if you have any recommendations for sort of school setting books, I'd love to hear them. Please feel free to follow my socials down in the description box below, like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, have a lovely day. Bye.